Media Newsroom.
This is what happens when corruption just goes to the nth level, and this is a little bit of sitting in committee there. We're going to listen to this guy go at
Governor
Tom Emmer go at Tim Walz.
Walz, you signed the Health and Human Services Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill expanded Minnesota Care to provide free health care to illegal aliens. You signed the Higher Education Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill allows illegals to have their college tuition paid for by the state. You signed the Driver's License for All Act into law in March of 2023, and that bill allows illegals to receive driver's licenses. So, you claim you're not a sanctuary state. You just provide free health care, free college, and driver's licenses to illegal aliens. One reason you're here testifying before us today is because you refuse to cooperate with ICE. While states like Florida and Virginia empower their law enforcement to detain and remove criminal illegal aliens, you, sir, have done just the opposite. Your Attorney General is directing law enforcement to ignore ICE immigration detainers. Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Well, Congressman, it's good to see you again, and thank you for being here. First, I would say as my job as governor of Minnesota is to make Minnesota the best state in the nation.
Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Congressman, what I would say on this is that Minnesota follows all law.
It's a very easy question. And again, if you claim you're not a sanctuary state, you just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary state, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing their job.
Congressman,
isn't that right?
That is incorrect, Congressman. We follow the same laws when you were in the Minnesota House.
That's good. I mean, like I said, Trump dodged a bullet by a whisker, and I think the world dodged a massive bullet not electing this guy.
Can you imagine the memes, though? They would have been pretty good.
I mean, the fraud there just keeps getting worse and worse and worse in Minnesota there. So this tweet out here, and we won't play this one here because it's just a Minnesota Somalia fraud now may reach $8 billion, not just the $1 billion that was first reported. And this is Elon Musk retweeting this. Just massive fraud there on that. And then this is, I don't know how to put this in here. Actually, we're going to leave. This is just, well, maybe just sort of for a little lightheartedness. We won't put it in. No, Trump was dancing there, and Carney was just looking on. He didn't. I thought this was the big opportunity for his wife sitting there too, for Diana Fox Carney and Mark to get up there and do the elbows, right?
Yeah, the elbow dance.
And see if they could do a dance off, but he just sat there. Anyway, here's more on this Somalia fraud, though. Ilhan Omar is now being implicated in all this too, because she's turned some people are saying that she started out with meager fortune, net worth of $65,000 in 2020. Now she has like $30 million. So not bad, eh? Some of these people in the U.S. Elected officials seem to do very well. Like Nancy Pelosi beats the S&P. Like she's one heck of an investor, right?
She hates it when you ask questions about that as well, doesn't she? Has like a meltdown. But yeah, Ilhan Omar, by no means at all is she the only one to have a sort of net worth history like that. I mean, Bernie Sanders is another one who's accumulated quite a lot of money. I mean, they are well paid. So if you invest your salary wisely, I suppose, you could generate quite a lot of wealth. But then there's also, naturally, there's going to be suspicion, isn't there? Like, about potential inducements.
This is a big thing. This is going down. So there's going to be some stuff that happens out of this because this is massive fraud. And we won't play the clip on this either because it's not much point to it. But FIFA gave Donald Trump the Peace Prize. And it's the first ever Peace Prize handed out by FIFA. The media, the left-leaning media in the United States had a meltdown.
If I was Donald Trump, I mean, quite hard to imagine, but I would find that to be an insult. But for some reason he didn't. Like, it's so obviously an attempt to manipulate him.
And he was at the
based
Kennedy
on
Center. This
the
is where
idea that he wants a Nobel Peace Prize. So it's like, here you go, friend.
they were at the Kennedy Center there, and they were also handing out other awards there. And a couple of them were handed out. They were handing out medals. It was Medal Day. And one of my top movie stars, if I ever liked a movie star, was Rocky. Sly Stallone got a medal there. You can see him standing in the background there to the left of Trump there, or his right, his left, our left, whatever. And then my favorite rock band of all time, and I think this is the biggest grossing band in like concert-wise, Kiss. You know Kiss?
Really? Surely not. Surely they're not the highest grossing ever. That's mad.
The Rolling Stones should be right. What records does Kiss have, right?
They do have some good songs, Kiss, but it's just like Grateful Dead, for example. They've been touring like 24/7, basically, haven't they, since they started in the 60s? But I don't know. Or somebody like Beyonce, like she makes like billions of dollars, doesn't she?
Well, okay, so Kiss is often cited as the largest merchandising empire in music history, with over 3,000 officially licensed products. Kiss Army is one of the largest long-running official fan clubs. Sold over 100 million albums. 30 gold.
And the main fella, what's his name?
Gene Simmons, come on, what do you mean?
Gene Simmons, yeah. Well, he's actually called Chaim something, isn't he? Apparently, he holds the record for bedding the most groupies of any rock star ever. So that's a good record.
Was for millions of dollars when he used to do that thing. I can't do that with my tongue.
Pretty gross. They do have some good songs, though, in fairness. They've got about 5 good songs, I would say. But one of my friends is like a massive Kiss fan, and he would hate me for saying that, because he reckons they've got like 50.
My favorite song was from Peter Criss, the drummer, though. It was Beth, I Hear You Calling. I think it's just called Beth, but a great song. Absolutely.
Yeah, they had some talent, but they just were excellent marketers, weren't they? They wrapped it up in this like package, and it worked very well for them. Forever,
they hid their identities, and I mean forever. I used to get the Teen Beat magazine, and there might be some older people that are listening here, and but Teen Beat magazine, the Kiss. There you go. And he's turned it into a bit of an empire. They kind of have a show right now too. Gene Simmons and them. I don't know what the show is. I don't watch that stuff now, but the EU targeting Elon Musk. They're after him. They nailed him with a €140 fine against X. They're going hard at him. And I think we talked about this a little bit last week. J.D. Vance sticking up for him. Marco Rubio sticking up for him. And I won't play this clip, but now Elon Musk is going at them. He wants the EU disbanded. The European Union is not a democracy, a rule of people, but rather a bureaucracy. There you go.
It's in spirit, that's true. It's short on detail, but I think that is true, that they have an unelected executive, basically.
Ursula von der Leyen. She's very much loved all over the European Union.
Well, I just find it so funny. When people have that in their names, like Von, that's an aristocratic, indicator. That means like it's usually members of the nobility that have that. And I just find it so amusing that there's somebody called Ursula von der Leyen is the unelected leader of the who goes around talking about how great democracy is all the time, even though it doesn't really put that into practice very often. It looks a little bit like the sort of 18th century or something, doesn't it?
Hungary's leader Orbán there is not letting migrants into Hungary. That's my homeland. My mother and father escaped there during the revolution. It's being fined. I think it's $1 million a day for not letting in migrants. The EU just handed Hungary almost $500 million for not following migration rules. And this thing could come to a head. And Elon Musk is telling them to dissolve and return the power to the people. And Orbán is saying the same thing. Well, the immigration rules should be up to each country if we want migrants or not. But the EU says, no, you've got to take them. That doesn't make any sense, does it?
It's one of the reasons that Britain left the European Union, because 2015, the year of the migration crisis, when Angela Merkel unilaterally, without consulting other members of the European Union, she unilaterally decided to open the doors to immigrants from everywhere, Afghanistan and Iraq, Syria, I think Serbia, some of them came in, Albania. and more than 1 million people came, ostensibly to Germany, but then it wasn't before Angela Merkel started saying, and Germans started saying, all right, now we need to share them around, even though we unilaterally let them in without consulting anyone. That really played into the Brexit debate in England, because that was in 2016, the vote. And I think a lot of people in Britain said, okay, no. But it's a bit ironic because obviously the British have ended up with huge amounts of illegal migrants anyway, come across on dinghies from France. But you look at this €1 million a day, talking about Britain and the illegal migrants. In Britain, they spend something like £8 million, which is about the same as a euro, £8 million per day on accommodation just for those dinghy people. Yeah. So if you're somebody like Viktor Orban, you look at that and you'd say, $1 million a year, $1 million a day. All right, yeah, I'll take it. That's a bargain.
7 million a head. Elon Musk now is tweeting on, Canada too. Mark Carney has said that X is a platform of misinformation, disinformation. I'd say the Liberal Party is the platform of misinformation, disinformation, and the CBC. But the number one news platform now in Canada as well is X. And it's now every country in the EU, X is the number one platform. Ever since they started going after Elon Musk, X went up. It seems like the more you push against something like that, the better it gets.
I don't know how long it's going to last, though, in Canada, because with a lot of this new legislation that the Liberals are putting out, they're pretending it's like to protect the children as they clutch their pearls. Like, the children, won't somebody think of the children? But really, it's more about bringing Canada in line with the European Union and an ability to kind of manage and choreograph what is allowed to be discussed in the public realm, so that you can kind of control free speech, which obviously then makes it not free. But that's the European model, and I think Canada wants to go along with that model too. So you can't really have that model and have X, because X really is, for all of its many, many flaws, it is the biggest part of the internet where you can pretty much say what you want.
And this is the Undersecretary of State, Sarah Rogers, here, just basically taunting the Euros to come after her, knowing that the full military might is behind her. Listen to what she has to say.
I got off my European train and checked into my European hotel and noticed that a member of European Parliament called Helmut Brandstätter tweeted, quote, "There's no censorship in Europe. Everyone has to follow our rules." Well, I'm traveling here on a diplomatic passport, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to say a few things that ordinary Europeans can't by revisiting some remarks for which people in Europe and also the UK have been investigated or arrested or jailed by their governments over the past few years. So, as I tweeted a few moments ago, a German woman notoriously received a harsher jail sentence than a convicted rapist after the woman called the rapist, quote, "a disgraceful pig." This was after he participated, along with several other disgraceful pigs, in the gang rape of a 15-year-old girl in a public park. Similarly, a British woman was dragged out of her bath by 11 police officers after she referred in a private text message to a man who allegedly violently assaulted her as, quote, "a faggot." And victims of violent crime aren't the only people who lack free speech rights in Europe. In Sweden, an activist called Rasmus Paludan was jailed after he burned a Quran and referred to Islam as gay Islam. Finally, in Germany, a man faced a criminal investigation for referring to Green Party leader Ricarda Lang as, quote, "fat." There are many more. I could go on, but it's important to note that the European censorship bureaucracy often postures as populist, fighting against big tech. Yet none of the people I listed as a large tech company. These are ordinary Europeans and one Brit who were punished by their governments for saying what they thought was true, or just what they felt like saying. In a free society, that shouldn't happen. So which is it, Mr. Brandstätter? Is there no censorship in Europe, or do we all have to follow your rules?
The latter, yes.
Better go get her. Hey,
you do have to follow their rules.
Go get her. They threatened. Remember, in Europe, European Union, one of the elected or appointed bureaucrats said that they were going to arrest Elon Musk. Well, there she is. She's right there in Europe. You can go get her, right? Because she called that.
Of course. I mean,
wow.
It is so odd, isn't it? This situation with Europe, where they still act like they're one of the big boys, but they're not. The reality is they're not. They're second rate. They must know that deep down, you know?
Well, Zelensky is in, I think he's in London right now, meeting with the European Union there on peace. You know, their talk about peace is a lot different than Zelensky's talk. And Trump says Zelensky hasn't even read the U.S. peace proposal as tensions mount. And then the European Union pushing back on the American peace plan. And Zelensky, according to Trump, hasn't even read the peace plan. And I mean, I've interviewed somebody from Ukraine a lot, and they say, you know, that if Zelensky, if they do have a peace deal, he'll have to hold an election, and his favorability right now is very, very low, so likely will not win re-election.
That corruption scandal is just getting worse and worse, and yeah, he's being implicated in it. So I think that's right. There's a free and open election. I think he would lose it,
even if
or
you
have
look
a good chance of losing.
Even if you look at COVID, you know, like they stood at the microphone, they had power, they were flying around in helicopters. What reason did they have to get rid of that? Do you know what I mean? Like, in the same thing here. If he has a peace plan, then all of a sudden he's not in power, he's not traveling around the world, fundraising. You know, right now he's a big deal. I don't know. We talked about Japan earlier. Japan accuses China of targeting jets amid tension in the Pacific. And this is, so they had some Japanese fighter jets out there, and China fighter jets locking radar on its aircraft on the weekend, signaling a potential attack. Definitely ratcheting up in Japan, asking the United States of America, tell them to stand down. Who's asking for help? It's the Japanese. And just like, what would Canada do if China started playing with us? Who would we ask for help? Would we fire up those 40-year-old jets? The 40 of them that are flyable?
I think we'd ask Sweden, wouldn't we? Our best friend.
With the
maybe we'd ask Ireland.
The non-stealth jets? How long would they last against a stealth jet?
It is, it's a ticking time bomb though, isn't it, in the West Pacific? Because China has this like absolutely mad, demented policy, official policy, that Taiwan is not an independent country. It's China. And it's a breakaway province controlled by extremists and freaks and maniacs. And China's just trying to figure out the best way to reunite.
Well, one of the things
Taiwan with China, which isn't true. The Taiwanese have their own identity. It is a country. But the Japanese prime minister, the new Japanese prime minister, said what you're not supposed to say, because you're supposed to humor the Chinese and this mad delusion that they have. And you're supposed to just not say anything about it, really. But she said, no. If China attacked Taiwan, we would attack China. We would get involved militarily. That's what all this is about, because the Chinese have gone mad after that. And this is like all part of the tantrum that the Chinese are having about that. But it's so crazy, and it's just lunacy that we indulge China and we go along with this when it comes to Taiwan. I mean, either we say that you can't invade another country and annex it, or we don't. Like, we have to make our mind up. But there's just this ridiculous pantomime.
Well, somebody just said the best chips are made in Taiwan. According to Mark Carney, the best chips are made in Canada, except I think their flavors are barbecue and salt and vinegar. That's my humor. Because he said that. Remember when he said that? That Canada makes all the chips that the Americans need?
It was pretty astonishing, wasn't it? Because that was... I mean, it hasn't really damaged his reputation, now, has it? Because we're supposed to think that he's an economic genius, and then he said that, and it was like, hold on, you don't have the first clue what you're on about. You don't know anything. And then he also said, like, you buy much steel lately? And I was like, hold on, is he an economist, this guy?
One of the things, though, China has, and it might not want to lose that if it starts poking the bear for war, is it has $1 trillion trade surplus right now. So, I mean, their economy is, that's a pretty big trade surplus. And the BRICS nation, and Russia, China, India, Brazil, making some big noise there, though, right? Because they're talking about they want a gold-backed unit system. And they've been talking about that. And Trump has warned them against this, too, and said, you'll get slapped with sanctions like you wouldn't believe. And because the U.S. dollar is the world's reserve currency. And if you take the BRICS nations, the majority of the world's population, over half the population, is in the BRICS. Because if you add China and India together. What is that? Almost 2.5 billion people just right there. It's a lot of people.
Yep. But we don't often add China and India together because they absolutely despise one another and are geopolitical rivals. So,
except right here, they stand side by side. Hey, they stand side by side right there with the I and the C.
Well, not quite. South Africa's in between.
No, I'm just talking about the initial and the BRICS.
Yeah, they talk the talk, and there's all kinds of nonsense that comes out of them. But at the end of the day, India and China fate has decided that they will be enemies. They will be opponents. And India's furious with China because it sponsors their true blood rival, their blood enemy in Pakistan. China is the primary sponsor of Pakistan. But for many other reasons, India and China are effectively in conflict with one another. So BRICS, I don't know. I wouldn't be too afraid of that.
Putin was just in India and got a big welcome there from Prime Minister Modi there.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.